FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show, right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM, your Mid-South sports station.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still a little bit crowded out here in a couple of spots down Bill Morris Parkway. Just depends on what section you're at there, but it's busy coming Bill Morris right past Winchester. All that traffic coming in from Collierville. Still dealing with some wet driving conditions out here. There's been some slipping and sliding. Give yourself plenty of extra time this morning just to be on the safe side. It's busy now. 40 as you work your way eastbound across the Hernando de Soto Bridge coming over from West Memphis. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Morning. On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 7:32 is the time. Hour number one here on Sports 56 Mornings. Coming up in hour number two, we're going to talk Tennessee, Georgia, the big showdown in Athens. Dave Hooker will join us from Off the Hook Sports at 8:05. Jerry Palm at 8:25 will get his thoughts on the committee's rankings from last night. DeMichael Cole at 9:05 on the Grizzlies. Again, they're in Los Angeles to take on the Lakers tonight, then the Warriors on Friday before heading back to Memphis. And then Parth Upadhyay at 9:25 to talk some Memphis Tigers basketball. The Tigers back on the hardwood Friday as they will play host to Ohio before they head out west for a game in San Francisco and then the Maui Invitational where they'll open up against the two-time defending champion UConn Huskies. Congratulations to Brent Rooker, our buddy, friend of the show, from ECS. And, of course, the Oakland A's. He wins his first Silver Slugger Award after a season in which he clubbed 39 dingers and produced a 927 OPS. A great year for Brent Rooker.
You know, it's funny with Brent because he – this is what I for them, it's got to be nice, I guess, in a lot of ways. Brent was at – was it the Lakers game? I think it was a Lakers game.
Oh, was he?
With the Grizzlies. And he sits there in the crowd and, like –
nobody knows him.
Nobody has a clue. Like, nobody has a clue that that's, like, an all-star baseball player. So, like, not one person ever came up to him because he was sitting right in front of him. It was, like, 2 rows in front of me. Like, nobody ever comes up to him. Nobody has a clue who that is. And I'm like, that baseball players is great. Like, you can just blend into a crowd because you're not, 7 feet tall or 320 pounds. They can just kind of blend into a crowd and nobody has a clue who they are sitting there.
Wish I had known he was there. I would have came over and talked to him and get him back on the show. We loved having him on. I had to go through the A's to get him on the first time. So, yeah, it's good to see that he was back in town enjoying himself incognito, even though he didn't have to put any fake mustache or a hat on or anything like that. Okay, so we had the breaking news yesterday, and again, this was the report that came out from a guy by the name of Tom Bogert. Tom Bogert is an MLS and a soccer insider, the men's national team as well. So here's a guy that Lawrence is probably very familiar with, so a very reputable source, and came out with the story that Memphis 901 FC have transferred their USL Championship franchise rights to Santa Barbara. Per sources, Memphis will not play in 2025. Santa Barbara will join the USL Championship in 2026. The league, I guess they're waiting for league approval, or maybe it's already been approved, which means that this has been in the works for a while. The transfer, of course, due to no viable stadium solution. So let's bring on our soccer insider. It's Lawrence Dockery. He writes for World Soccer Talk. He's the host of the 901 Soccer Podcast with Bluff City Media. He joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. By the way, you can follow Lawrence on Twitter at LDoc93. All right, Lawrence, let's jump right into it. I appreciate you joining us here with this story from yesterday. First of all, have you been able to confirm this report? Because I don't think anything has come out of 901 FC themselves.
No, I have not. Made some calls and sent some texts, and it has been complete and total radio silence. So I have no reason to doubt anything that Tom Bogert has reported. He's a very reputable national writer, very well respected. So I have no reason to doubt any of that. But I have not yet heard anything from anybody at 901 SC. Nobody has told me anything. I'm just about as in the dark as everybody else is. But I like to fall back on this thing when things of this nature happen. Nobody ever works to keep good news quiet.
Okay, so there's questions that you may or may not be able to answer. So reading this verbatim, they have transferred their USL Championship franchise rights to Santa Barbara. Does that mean the ownership group, as we know, which includes Craig Unger, they are selling their rights to another group that will run the show in Santa Barbara, or is everybody here in Memphis going to Santa Barbara and they'll have a new identity of the team once they're out there?
Unfortunately, I hate that you billed me as the soccer insider, because these are questions that I don't really have answers to, unfortunately. My gut tells me that this is something that the league has decided to do, not that anybody involved with 901 FC has decided to do. There's a couple of reasons that I think that. I think that if 901 FC or the ownership group of 901 FC had decided to sell, it would say sold rather than transferred.
Mm-hmm.
They were also not acting like a team that was going anywhere. They were acting like a team that was going to be back for next year, based on conversations that I'd had throughout the season and based on conversations I had following their playoff loss a couple of weeks ago to Orange County. I can't quite say everybody, but there was, talk about what next preseason might look like, what the plans were, how they were going to, try to get attendance back up for next year. The players that they were signing early last year and into the season, there were a lot of them that were on multi-year contracts. Coach Stephen Glass signed a contract extension in the middle of the year that keeps him here. Well, that was going to keep him here through 2025. So they were acting like a team that was going to be back next year. They were not acting like a team that this was the end of the road, and that kind of leads me to believe that they might have been caught off guard just as much as the rest of us were by this. Now, I can't say that for certain because, like I said, nobody's told me anything. But based on the wording of the report and the fact that they were operating like business as usual, that leads me to believe that this is perhaps something that the league has decided to do and not something that the team has decided to do.
Has this happened with any other franchises?
I can't say that for sure. There's been a lot of turnover in the USL Championship. There have been a lot of teams that have just shut down for a variety of reasons. Just last year, 2 teams in the Western Conference were shut down. That was San Diego Loyal and Rio Grande Valley. San Diego nominally was because they had no stadium solution, but there's also the specter of MLS. San Diego starts in 25, I think. Rio Grande Valley had their own stadium, and they were decently supported, so I'm not sure what happened there, but that's part of the reason that Memphis 901 SC got moved from the Eastern Conference to the Western Conference. So teams coming and going in the USL Championship is not anything new.
So the word the last 2 years has basically been, you're going to have to find your own stadium, right? And they've been trying to find their own stadium. But I thought that they had still another year, 2025, to try to rectify that situation while still being able to play at AutoZone Park and share AutoZone Park with the Redbirds, which makes me think that they pulled the plug probably because they took losses and hits in 24 and didn't want to go through that again in 25, knowing there was no viable answer to their dilemma.
That's certainly possible. I don't know that for sure, but I do suppose that is a possibility. You look at the attendance, and it's hard to imagine that there was any appreciable amount of money coming in. Coach Glass and Caleb Patterson-Sewell mentioned several times that they had to work with one of the smallest budgets in the league. So it's that I would assume that is a possibility, but I don't know that is a certainty. I would also say that I'm with you that I thought, they had at least through next year because, we've talked about it on the show numerous times about, is the stadium mandate by 2026, is that actually a real mandate or not? And I But even if it was, I thought that you would have at least through 2025 because the World Cup's not until 2026. So if that's the reason, then yes, I am surprised. But I will say this: I think, and if 901FC was drawing 7,000 people a game playing in a baseball stadium, I don't think that the league makes this move. To be quite honest, and that's a major bummer. But they did have a real good shot at getting the stadium, and then they went to the state, and then all of a sudden the Redbirds have to go hat in hand to the city asking for the scraps, and Fred Smith has to parachute in with a $150 million golden parachute to make sure that the Tigers get themselves taken care of. Makes you wonder why the partner in all of this, who I'm not going to name, never said anything about anything. But different argument for a different day, I guess. But it just sucks. It's not a good day. It's been a rough month of soccer here in Memphis.
Yeah,
so I guess this is
what,
just
Lawrence?
the cherry on top of that particular Sunday.
Yeah, and anytime you lose a franchise, it doesn't look good for your city. And unfortunately, Memphis is going through a number of different franchises in different sports. Sports have bellied up, too. It's not just their fault. Sometimes, and a lot of times, they've been actually supported. 901 FC, when it first came here, was supported. I understand the shift. The shift is people don't want to go downtown. Let's be honest. And we got to be honest here. So I don't get this. This is a final thing for you. Okay? I don't understand. Now, I know that I have put this out there, and I think you have disagreed with me. I don't get it. If there are reasons why they couldn't figure out a deal with the county and Mike Rose Soccer Complex, I want people to tell me what those reasons are and how those conversations went, because I'm not even sure that there were conversations. I know they were disgruntled because they didn't get a piece of the pie that the former Mayor Jim Strickland had come up with, that proposal, and that would include the stadium and all that over the Mid-South Coliseum, that whole spiel. It didn't happen, okay? It didn't happen. So you got to look at other options. Mike Rose is sitting right there. I think personally, all the soccer moms and the families are mostly out there in the suburbs. I think it would have done really, really well. Logistically, it's not that bad, right? It's out there. There's room. They probably could have figured it out, adding seats and concessions. Maybe I'm living in a fantasy world. But did they attempt to try to do something with the county and Mike Rose? And if so, and you know the reasons why was it shot down?
I have no earthly idea if they tried to work out anything with Mike Rose. I know that's where the team practiced. That's where they had all of their training. But as far as I have to continue to disagree with you on this. You mentioned that there was room. There is really actually no room out there to expand anything. I've spent 18 years of my life as a referee, and probably 10 of those 18 refereeing out at Mike Rose. Mm-hmm. So I've refereed many games in that stadium. There's no place to add any seats.
There's no place to add seats. You can't go up in the stadium or wide or out.
No? Not really. No, the way that it's constructed, it's kind of like a bowl, but then Fort Hill Irene is right there on one side of it. It's 2,500 people.
Okay, you know what? 2,500 is better than zero. I mean, this team is gone.
There's a lot of reasons why I don't think that simply playing at Mike Rose is viable.
And I respect you.
Stadium size and also parking is a nightmare. As somebody who, even when I'm not given 8 o'clock games
shuttle
to
people
referee.
And we got to rock. But listen, I respect you because you're out there and you know a lot more than I do. I just don't get it because this is the attitude we have in the city is like, okay, let's not even try. Let's just lose the team. And so the team's gone. And I just think that's horrible. You know it's horrible. I know it's horrible. Mm-hmm. I just think it's horrible. And I don't know how it all went down. But to hear this news is, it's rough because there's actually a lot of soccer people out there. You will have, I'm sure, updated information once you get that. Let us know. Of course, you got the podcast at Bluff City Media, the 901 Soccer Podcast. He's the best. He's Lawrence Dockery. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for getting up early for us.
Thank you.
Take care. I don't get it, Eli. It's not just this one, but in a lot of things, it's rather than going through every hoop, jumping through every hoop to try to save it, we're more willing to just give it up. Give it up.
Well, I don't I have no idea what they've tried to do, but a 2,500 seat stadium isn't going to work. I'm sure for the league, so you weren't going to a 2,500 seat stadium just wasn't going to keep.
Yeah, but they weren't even getting 2,500. But the point is,
I know, but the bottom it doesn't like the league isn't going to say, oh, fine, stay in a 2,500 seat stadium like that. Well, that
I want to hear from an architect to tell me that they can't add seats at that stadium. They can't put auxiliary stands. I forget. I haven't been there in a long time, but I don't think both ends are closed in. Couldn't you add more things? The bottom line is, if you're not trying,
well, maybe they did.
That's what I want to know. I keep having people tell me, "Oh, they tried and it failed." I want to know the reasons why it failed. Why? I hear about parking all the time. There's events in golf where they don't have any parking, and what they do is they shuttle people in. I'm not saying that that's the thing people want to do, but if you had to, there's a lot of area out there. We're not talking about downtown Memphis. Well, I know they wanted it to work in downtown, and if not Midtown, but Midtown's basically downtown. It's not the suburbs. I just think that's where all the soccer people are. So anyway, that's my thoughts. We got to take a break.
Shuttling people from parking lots isn't going to work.
I covered the Live tournament. They shuttled people in.
That's a one-time event a year.
This is once a week, basically.
People aren't going to continue to go to be shuttled into a soccer game.
Yeah, I know, but it sounds to me more like, and I feel for Craig Unger and the gang because they thought they were getting the money for the stadium. So I do feel for them. But after it was shut down, it was almost like sour grapes that maybe, I don't know, they didn't pursue anything else or try to, land some maybe corporate dollars to help them refurbish the Mid-South Coliseum or build a small stadium or, again, do something with Mike Rose.
Mid-South Coliseum.
Yeah, that's the original deal. That's what Jim
Strickland... Not refurbishing the Mid-South Coliseum.
Well, renovate, whatever.
Knocking it down and building a stadium.
No, they were talking about keeping the facade, some of the part
there
of
a little bit of it. I mean, you're knocking down the Coliseum. They were putting like a wall of it.
Yeah, but they were going to keep some of it. That was my point.
It wasn't refurbishing it.
Well, whatever. Use a different term. The bottom line is whatever it was, I don't know if they continued to pursue once they were shut down. Again, I feel for them, but I also feel for the soccer fans. I do believe that there are soccer fans out there, and I do believe that the crowds were starting to diminish because people didn't want to go downtown. And it's unfortunate. I think in the suburbs, a soccer stadium or Mike Rose renovations, if they could do it, would work. I just believe it would work.
I mean, the bottom line, it sucks. You hate to lose any franchises you have in any sports, all of that stuff. But the bottom line is, let's just be honest here, it's not just the soccer. It's Memphis as a whole getting people to support the franchises that go to games.
No question.
I mean, we talk about it in every sport here. Like, it's just the Grizzlies are the only ones really not having an attendance issue.
No, and we still question their future, right?
The people who want to complain about the Grizzlies getting that chunk of that money, like they're the one thing that is being successful as far as drawing fans here right now.
Yeah, look, there's no argument, and I don't want to go back to that, but there's no argument that the Grizzlies and the Tigers should have been taken care of. And the money we were talking about, $350 million, doesn't buy you a porta potty in this day and age. So there was no way. We said it on the show. There was no way that money was going to trickle down to 901 FC and the Redbirds and all that stuff. It just wasn't going to happen. So I thought at that point, why couldn't they do something with the government, the county government, figure something out at Mike Rose? I don't know. Maybe I'm so far off. I don't think I'm that far off. Maybe it wasn't viable. Maybe they couldn't do it. But I don't think it was that crazy of an idea. All right, we'll take a break, come back, wrap up Hour 1. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain,
I'm partnering with PayPal. Turn Black Friday into Stack Friday in the PayPal app. Find tons of cashback offers to stack on top of Black Friday deals from your favorite brands. All you got to do is check out with PayPal online. Now that's a stack. Don't just pay, PayPal.
Check offers in the app for details. Cashback earned as points redeemable for cash and other options. Terms and exclusions apply.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings. Good morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
I was looking at this tweet about strength of schedule during the break, and Georgia's strength of schedule is number 7. So again, you can understand the argument from Georgia fans about the Bulldogs being on the outside looking in with just 2 losses. But again,
there's some rankings that have them number 1.
Yeah, I mean,
it depends what. I mean, I don't. Georgia has played but especially when you had the Tennessee game in this week, there's no doubt in my mind Georgia has played the hardest schedule in America. It's not even close. You got road games at Alabama, at Ole Miss, at Texas, and a home game against Tennessee, and played Clemson at a neutral site.
Yeah,
there's nobody that even come close to playing that tough a schedule in America.
Which makes it tough, again, for the committee when you're trying to measure strength of schedule, total losses, who you beat, all those things. Tennessee, by the way, up through this past weekend, their strength of schedule comes in at 77. Alabama, number 3. Then you have BYU at 76. But again, BYU's in the Big 12. The Big 12 is going to get one team in, and it'll be figured out with whoever wins the conference championship, right? That's it. That's the team that'll get it. Maybe it'll be BYU. Maybe it'll be Colorado. Maybe it'll be Kansas State. Whoever it is, right? That'll be so it doesn't really matter with them in this equation. Indiana matters a little bit more because you're talking about a team that will likely not win the Big Ten championship. They got the big one coming up with Ohio State a week from Saturday, but they're 81 with strength of schedule. I'm surprised Penn State's 27, but they are 27. Oregon's 45. Ohio State is 26. Notre Dame is 34. Notre Dame's 34 with their strength of schedule. This is college football playoff rankings, according to Brett McMurphy. This is Sports Source Analytics. Texas is number 35. Interesting. Again, that's the toughest part, I think, is trying to measure strength of schedule versus the total resume, who you beat, who you lost to, things of that nature. All right, last night, college basketball. Some interesting games. You had the Champions Classic, where Kansas held off Michigan State in the opener, 77-69. Kansas, the number 1 team in the nation. They go to 3-0. And then in a really good one, number 19, Kentucky, they beat number 6, Duke, 77-72. Duke led by 9 at the half. Looked like they were in control of this one. Give Kentucky a lot of credit. The Pope is in town, baby. He's doing some things already for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Cooper Flagg, who was terrific, 26 points, 12 rebounds, but 2 turnovers in the final seconds of that game. After the game was tied, he basically gave the game away for Duke with 2 straight turnovers to allow Kentucky to get the win. I'm just glad, and I believe anyway, that the rims and backboards survived in that arena last night with the shooting between those teams. 3-point shooting, Michigan State 3 for 24, Kansas 5 for 17, Duke 4 for 23, and then Kentucky 10 for 25. Kentucky is the only team that could actually make threes last night. It was Brick City. That first game was brutal to watch those 2 teams try to shoot the basketball.
Well, Kansas would have been in deep trouble if it wasn't for Hunter Dickinson. What did he end up with?
28-12.
28-12. I mean, he was the one guy who was playing well. You're right. A lot of Super Marios the rest of the way, bricklaying, if you will, in that game. And again, the second game wasn't great. But you're right about Cooper Flagg. I mean, the kid is ultra talented, but he made some critical mistakes down the stretch. And he's learning. First season, he's a freshman in college basketball, big-time college basketball, but you can't make those mistakes if you're going to win big games. And Kentucky, Calipari leaves. He goes to Arkansas. Mark Pope comes in. You hear questions about him and did a pretty good job using that NIL money in fixing holes in the roster and supplying what he needed, some three-point shooting, some really good lockdown defenders, especially on the perimeter, good rebounders. Kentucky making some early noise. Ole Miss played last night against South Alabama. At the Tad Pad, the throwback game, they win 64-54. They go to 3-0. Sean Padilla, 19 of his 27 in the first half. Also, Mississippi State was a winner last night. And both those two teams will be in action this weekend in Landover, at the Lander Center in South Haven.
Yeah, Ole Miss plays there Saturday. Mississippi State plays there on Sunday. Ole Miss would have fit right in the Champions Classic last night with their shooting. They were, what was it from? No, I guess it wasn't as bad. It wasn't the 3-point shooting that was bad. Well, it wasn't great. It was 13 of 38, but overall they shot 32% from the field in that game. They played no Matthew Burrell last night. He's got some injury that is not apparently serious. They call him day to day. So I don't know if he'll be back on Saturday or not. I would think that he probably would be, but obviously that's a big loss for them to not have him.
And again, they play Colorado State?
Yeah, they play Colorado State on Saturday, and Mississippi State plays Utah on Sunday down at the Lander Center. It's a big weekend of basketball. You got
really is.
Hustle on Friday night there, and then those two games over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
And the Tigers Friday night here in Memphis. So, yeah, a lot of basketball.
Fleet Feet, that's the place to go to get all your running gear. You want to make sure you get shoes that are just right for you. Go see the folks at Fleet Feet. They'll take care of you by taking a look at the way you run, the way you walk, and fitting you with shoes that are just right for you. Plus all your other gear that you need, well, they'll take care of that for you as well, from shorts or shirts or hats or whatever. They've got it all for you at Fleet Feet. Plus, you can get involved in their group runs and other things they do. They are just all about the running community over at Fleet Feet. 2 locations to take care of you. Laurelwood Shopping Center in East Memphis and out in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levy next door to Huey's. They are Fleet Feet.
What is the status of Nico for the Tennessee-Georgia showdown? We'll talk with Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports to open up Hour 2. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm, so tackle your toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700. This rugged side-by-side brings power to any party with reliable torque for towing and smooth shifting for the trails. And you can choose between 3 trims, Standard, Deluxe, or the True Timber Force Edition, equipped for ultimate backwoods adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700 today at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Newman Road in Olive Branch. For safety measures,
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds. It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Tacori and Verragio, and we're excited to be able to give you something that values. Genesis Vice President David Cooper, the craftsmanship, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar none better than anything else. Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from New York and California, with over 4,000 names to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create something that's truly one of a kind. They can custom craft you literally anything you can imagine. We have the capabilities to realize any dream you have. Things that other stores may call new, we've been doing for 3, 4, and 5 years already. So don't settle for a redo, style design, or you deserve. I'm David Cooper from Genesis Diamonds, and I'm excited to see you in the show. Extended.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad, or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Visibility not the best in the world out here this morning. Give yourself extra time with this rain pushing through our area during morning rush hour. It's already starting to pick up with more volume on Bill Morris coming inbound. They were dodging some debris earlier there on Bill Morris coming inbound right at Winchester. Standing water on main and secondary arteries this morning as it continues to pick up with more volume through the Midtown area on 240 North over here up by Lamar. Hey, shop now and save during the holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Genuine diamonds, baby.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:03 the time. Hour 2 on this Hump Day edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, it's where family and fun come together. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 55 and raining here in the metropolitan Memphis area. We're looking at rain throughout the day. Thunderstorms possible, and locally heavy rainfall is possible, even up to an inch of rain. Winds from 10 to 20 miles per hour. Then tonight, cloudy skies early, followed by partial clearing, 54 at overnight low. Tomorrow, only 62 for a high, but sunshine does return to the area. Second hour of the program is brought to you each and every day by James Gaddis Jewelers. We're getting closer and closer to the holiday season. Christmas and Hanukkah just around the corner. Gift-giving time. You're looking for that special gift for that special someone. James Gaddis Jewelers makes sense. Jewelry is something that everybody loves and everybody wears. Whether it's a beautiful ring from James Gaddis Jewelers, watches of all different types, gemstones of all types as well, bracelets and necklaces, earrings and pendants. Romantics will love the one-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust, and that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years with a huge selection and the best prices. James has all the credentials that you want in a jeweler. So go visit them today. Tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick in the heart of East Memphis. Check them out on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. Make sure to follow them as well on Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Well, we got a big showdown once again this weekend in Athens for Georgia and Tennessee. Tennessee right now on the inside, Georgia on the outside of the playoffs, but that could change in a heartbeat. We're pleased to be joined by our good friend Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at the Dave Hooker. He follows Tennessee, covers Tennessee, all things Tennessee. And we got a big one on Saturday, Dave.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It'd be Tennessee's first win against Georgia since 2016. So yeah, adding to that is the drama over whether or not Nico Iamaleava will be able to play since he's in concussion protocol. So there's a lot going on in Knoxville for sure.
Do you think a loss does them in? There's no chance a 3-loss Tennessee is going to the playoffs?
Well, a two-loss Tennessee team.
Two-loss. Oh, that's right. It would only be their second loss. Correct. So where do you think they would stand if they lose to Georgia?
Well, I'll be the first to tell you that when it comes to the College Football Playoff Committee, I don't know what they're going to do. I know it's a television show, and I would think Neyland Stadium being a possible home venue would help. I think it's one of the best places, best venues in college football. That being said, on face value, I think a 10-2 SEC team should get in. But what if there are 6 of them? Then somebody is probably left out. So I would say yes at 10-2, but the surefire way is to beat Georgia and then to beat Vanderbilt. Make sure you're in.
What is the word on Nico? And obviously concussion protocol, you never really know when they're going to clear that, but is the thought that he will be ready? What's the feeling there?
Ooh, I hate to not be able to give you a better answer, but my feeling's about 50-50 right now.
Okay.
Josh Heupel said at his Monday press conference, he's with us. Well, I don't really know what that means. Was he out there practicing? Probably not on Monday. I was told he was on the practice field on Tuesday, but, guys, this is a different era with concussion. So I think it's out of Nico's control. I think it's out of Josh Heupel's control. And ultimately, the medical officials will decide it. I have had somebody tell me that very close to the program that they just don't see any way that he doesn't play. But as big as this game is, I think from what we've seen from Tua Tagovailoa in Miami, this is your franchise. So you probably have to be a little bit prudent no matter how big this game is.
Yeah, so I was under the impression, and again, it all depends on who you're reading and who you're following, that he practiced on Monday and Tuesday, but you're talking about maybe he was at practice, not practicing whatsoever. There's a big distinction between practicing and just standing there with the team. When you're in concussion protocol, and if you're all of a sudden back to practice, then it tells me you're out of concussion protocol. So that's what I want to know. And you're telling me that you believe he's there but not practicing?
Well, I think that Josh Heupel chose his words very carefully on Monday. So he's with us, okay? And let's remember earlier this season, they said offensive tackle Lance Hurd would play against Oklahoma, and he didn't even make the trip. Let's remember that last year, Josh Heupel said Cooper Mays, the Tennessee center, All-American center, is expected to start against Florida, and he wasn't available. And I was told early in the week he was not going to be available. So I think there's some gamesmanship, and I can't blame Josh Heupel for doing that. But ultimately, as I wrote on my website this morning, I don't think he truly knows, and I don't think Nico truly knows. I think this is going to be a medical decision.
If he's not able to go.
It's worth noting, too, just real quick, nowadays, and especially with Josh Heupel, they don't hit much in practice. So he could theoretically go out there and dance around and throw some passes and be in practice and not really risk a further concussion. Sorry, interrupt.
If he's not able to go, do they have any chance whatsoever to beat Georgia?
I actually think so. And I think that's because they have arguably the best defensive line in the nation. They go about 10, 12 deep. Now, I think they've had some issues since middle linebacker Keenan Pili went out with a career-ending injury in the Florida game with an ACL. Jeremiah Thielander has filled in for him, and Tennessee has given up some pretty big runs since Thielander's been in there. So I think there's some issue with run fit. But I think their defensive front's good. Their secondary is good. And this is really a running football team first. So Nico was just starting to come into his own since halftime of the Alabama game. And he certainly, I think, would have played well against Georgia. They have a senior in Gaston Moore who's been with Heupel all the way back to his UCF days.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look spectacular in games, but I'm told he can handle the offense. So if he's got a week to prepare, yeah, I think they can. I think Vegas doesn't think that's the case because the point spread is going to be, I was told by an odds maker analyst, at about 7 before the Nico injury, and now it's about 10. So Vegas is telling us they can't win and that Nico's not going to play.
And not to belabor the point, but I will here, and I know you don't have the answer. We just talked about it for the last 3 questions, but this was the story I saw, and that's why I talked about the practice. Pete Thamel, which is a little bit confusing in his tweet from 13 hours ago, he said he's in concussion protocol. However, he did dress and practice on Tuesday. Again, he did dress and practice on Tuesday is what Pete said, yet he's in concussion protocol. I'm telling you, he's not practicing if he's in concussion protocol. He might be standing there.
Right, and that's fair. And, like, even when we were able to cover practice and it was open to the media, they were called thud practices. You would hit people but not take them to the ground to avoid injury. Tennessee and a lot of schools don't even do that now. And it's not about contact as I don't want to say the game's gotten softer, but it's gotten softer. So they just don't do that a lot. So it's theoretical that he could have gone out there and done 7-on-7s. That he gives them passing drills and never risk getting hit. I think that's a possibility. But there's all kinds of gray area with the way Heupel likes to play these things and the fact that practice, like most places, is closed at Tennessee.
When does the first injury report come out?
That'll be this evening. And that's the other thing. You bring up a great point. Josh Heupel, you could tell, didn't want to talk about it on Monday. So he said, you can follow that injury report or participation report or whatever they call it on Wednesday. So I think that was further proof that he didn't feel good about it on Monday. He may feel better about it on Wednesday.
It would seem as though if you do have Nico, or regardless who it is, in a lot of ways it feels like Ole Miss kind of laid a blueprint for Tennessee on how to beat Georgia. I mean, obviously you mentioned the defensive line. Ole Miss was a great defensive line, and they were able to get to Beck and cause all kinds of problems for him. And they didn't. And Georgia wasn't able to run the ball at all against Ole Miss. The middle of the field was wide open, and Ole Miss exploited that all day. A lot of the things that Tennessee would seem to want to do offensively worked for Ole Miss against Georgia in that game. So it feels like there were some things that were shown to Tennessee, like here's a good way to beat Georgia.
I agree with that. I also think NIL has laid the groundwork for beating a program like Georgia and previously a program like Alabama that too deep was every bit as good as a lot of teams' first stringers. And that's because if guys aren't going to play, they transfer elsewhere. So this Georgia team ranked 6th in the SEC in rushing defense when there used to be in 1 or 2 in previous years. So I think Tennessee, especially with an interior offensive lineman led by center Cooper Mays, I think that they can probably run the football, which they're going to have to do if it's gassed more. But I think the days of teams being too deep and you can lose the guy and just move on are kind of gone. I think if it goes out, you don't have an answer. And I don't think that Georgia has had a great answer for the guys that they've lost to the NFL in these years.
Well, the biggest question mark is what the heck has happened to Carson Beck? I mean, he went from a guy who could be the first pick in the draft going into the season, and now I don't even know if he's a first rounder. I don't believe he is. With Tennessee's defense, their ability to maybe get to the quarterback, I think they have a chance to win this game with their defense if they can make life hell for Beck, and he's hurting himself along the way. What do you think about that?
I agree with you completely. He turns the ball over, and that's what you don't want to do with a Kirby Smart team. I don't think he has the leadership ability of a Stetson Bennett, who we probably all underrated at times with his ability to run the football. I'm not an I told you so guy, but after the Alabama game, I thought there were a lot of throws, despite the way Georgia stormed back. I thought there were a lot of throws that Stetson Bennett either didn't make or couldn't make, especially the interception at the end. I said at that point, going into the Georgia game, Tennessee will have an advantage at quarterback. Now, I didn't know Nico was going to have a concussion going into the week, but I'm with you. I think there's a lot made of Carson Beck in the preseason. He had a fantastic year last year, but talking to my Georgia sources, I question his leadership ability. I question a lot about Beck's arm. Does he have a big league arm? And his propensity just to throw into coverage and not protect the football. I read a lot into Kirby Smart being so defensive about Carson Beck. I believe that he knows that's kind of all he's got. And it goes back to my NIL comment, and he has to win that way. But I don't think he can be pleased with the quarterback play either.
No, certainly that. Dave, why do you think Dylan Sampson doesn't, I guess, get more attention for the year he's having?
I don't know. And in particular, the Heisman Trophy. Yeah. And I wrote a...
Dude's got 20 touchdowns running in the SEC.
Yeah, and not only that, but, you know, I covered the program, so I know this more than, say, somebody else who's covering Boise State. Ashton Jeanty at the running back is having a fantastic year, but Sampson's also a great leader, which you don't see at the running back position a whole lot for whatever reason. Sampson also went out there when Nico couldn't, no knock against Nico, obviously, but in the second half against Mississippi State when he knew he was needed despite an ankle injury. Well, yeah, he had every reason to say, I'm going to save myself, but he didn't do so. So he broke Gene McEver's record for rushing touchdowns in a season that was set in 1929. I don't know if you guys covered that game, but I didn't.
That amazed me, by the way, when in that game when he broke that I was like, I can't believe that there's a record still standing since 1929.
Especially with the tailbacks that Tennessee's had over the years. No, I agree. I was stunned by that when I found that out, I guess, in late September, that he was making a real run at that. So I can't tell you. You know, I wrote a column and I polled some Heisman voters, and Ryan McGee of ESPN used the term that I loved. I wish I would have thought of it. He said criminally overlooked, and I agree. I have a Heisman vote, and I have you get 3 picks. I don't know that he's in the top 3, but if I had 5 selections, no doubt he would be in it. And he might end up getting into the top 3. But the fact that he's just getting no talk whatsoever is, as Ryan said, criminally negligent.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's, top 5. And look, I understand Genty's in the Mountain West and not in the SEC, but he's the best running back in the country. So I couldn't put Sampson ahead of him. And then you see what Travis Hunter's doing. You see what a couple of these quarterbacks are doing. I think sitting there at number 5, if that's the way you voted, I think that's absolutely fair. Dave Hooker is joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. You can follow Dave on Twitter, and I hope you do. He's a great follow at the Dave Hooker, and then listen to his podcast as well, Off the Hook Sports. Okay, so as you know, Georgia has won 7 in a row in this series. They won 12 of the last 14. Is there a mental block that Tennessee has to get over?
I don't think so. But, I've said that for years about the Florida game, and I do think that became a mental block at some point. I think guys going to class heard about the streaks that Florida had. And I don't think there's one with Georgia. I think Georgia's just been better for most of those years. I think there were years in which Florida wasn't the better football team. But I don't think there's a mental block. I just think they're a better team and have been a better team. This year, it's debatable. Vegas has it at 9 points. If I did a percentage on it, I'd probably say that Georgia 65% has a chance of winning, the Tennessee 35. But I don't think that it is to the point in which Tennessee goes into the game thinking, something bad's going to happen, we're going to lose.
All right, I'll let you make 2 picks. One with Nico, one without Nico. Could be the same. What do you see?
Good one. I will say that with Nico, 100%, Tennessee does beat Georgia by the slightest of margins somewhere because their defense is so good, somewhere in the 24 to 20 range. I will say without Nico, I think that's asking a lot of Gaston Moore, who hasn't started at Tennessee, to win in Athens. So I would say Georgia probably wins that game by 10 or 13 points, somewhere in there.
By the way, was the last win over Georgia, was that crazy ending with Josh Dobbs, the touchdown pass?
I know what. Yeah, it was back in 2016.
Like 2 touchdowns in the final, 10
seconds
that? Or whatever.
Eli, I'm impressed.
That's pretty good.
I just remember that crazy ending of a game, and I was Tennessee over Georgia. They ended up winning that game, but I couldn't remember how long ago that was. And I guess with Dobbs, it couldn't have been that long ago. So
that's pretty good, though. That's still 8 years ago. That's stats like memory right there. He is Dave Hooker. Check out the podcast at Off the Hook Sports. Follow him on Twitter at the Dave Hooker. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon, Dave. Thank you as always. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. Caleb Calhoun is a big fan of yours. He's my co-host, so he wants to say hello.
Oh, tell Caleb we said hi as well. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. So with Nico, he's got him winning. Without Nico, hey, look, you got to love Mr. Moore's first name. I think they can win just because of that. Anybody named Gaston, I think, has a chance to win. But in all seriousness, 12 out of 14 years they've lost to Georgia. Now, granted, Georgia has been the best team in the nation a number of those years. But still, I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be extremely tough to win that game. I can't imagine the way Georgia played, the way Beck played, the way they were handed to them, their tails by Ole Miss, and I just think they're going to bounce back. They're too good a program. He's too good a coach. I guarantee you those practices were hard this week. Those meetings were tough. We'll see if the players respond. Sometimes tough love is how you respond. Sometimes it's not. But I'm not going to sit here and make a prediction yet. We'll make our picks on Thursday during our Pick 6, but yeah, I don't like 10 or 9 as far as the number, but as far as Georgia winning the game at home, I mean, it's Georgia, for goodness sakes. It's not crazy to think that that's going to happen. But Tennessee's defense, like we talked about with Ole Miss, vastly improved, making them more formidable. And here's the thing. Tennessee, we thought was going to be all about their offense this year. Oh, they're going to run up scores on people. They have struggled so much scoring points, especially in the first half. And their defense has really bailed them out.
Well, there's a lot of similarities between Tennessee and Ole Miss defensively, with the defensive line and what they're able to do in getting pressure on quarterbacks. And then offensively, obviously, they like to run the up-tempo. Now they've got a great running back, a better running game than Ole Miss has.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss has the better quarterback right now. But if Nico can play and be on, again, Ole Miss showed you, throw to the middle of the field. I'm sure Georgia will make some adjustments. I would hope so, based off last week. But the middle of the field was wide open, and I'm sure Tennessee will try and exploit that the way Ole Miss did.
We have a lot of great options for lunch and dinner here in Memphis, a lot of great restaurants, and a lot of great barbecue restaurants. One of them, though, is Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, and that's my preference. Corky's, with 4 locations at Poplar Avenue in Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. You can dine in at any of their 4 establishments. You can have the delivery services like DoorDash deliver to your home or office. You can drive through, no contact delivery, or just go in and pick it up yourself. They will cater. No matter what the size is of the event you got coming up, they will cater and start you out as low as $8.99 per person. They've been catering for as long as they've been around, which is 4 decades, serving up that delicious, slow-smoked barbecue. When you head over for lunch or dinner, you get your entree, add a third of a rack of ribs for just $7.99. You'll be glad you did. They have party packs that start at just $7.49, lunch specials every single day. And they got the private party room at the Cordova and the Olive Branch locations. So Christmas get-togethers, office get-togethers, birthday parties, whatever the case may be, give them a call and reserve their private party room for usage over the holidays or at any time, Cordova or Olive Branch locations. It's Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Jerry Palm is next. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Enjoy Friday night lights from 7 to closing. Dine in and buy 12 wings and get 5 regular wings for free. Come watch college football and every pro game on the weekends. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Highway 70, fall is football.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I pluck mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call 5Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. 5Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. I'm looking at a crash over here. It's got traffic slow go on 55 northbound right at Brooks and Elvis Presley. It's over to the side, but it's mostly rubbernecking delays coming up through there on 55 northbound at Brooks and Elvis Presley. Still some volume making its way down I-40 westbound coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County. Lots of standing water out here on main and secondary routes. Give yourself extra time. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weiber's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Diamonds are forever.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:27 the time. Just about halfway home on this Hump Day edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Coming up in Hour 3, Grizzlies talk with DeMichael Cole, and then we'll talk some Memphis Tigers basketball with Parth Upadhyay. But right now, time to talk with our buddy, Jerry Palm.
It's time for Sports 56 Mornings Weekly Chat with Jerry Palm, college football and basketball writer and bracketologist for CBSSports.com. Here are Greg, Eli, and Jerry.
He is Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. He joins us every single Wednesday during both the college football and basketball seasons. You can follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. Good morning, Jerry.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. You know we love you, right? You know we love you, right? Okay.
What I do now.
You didn't do anything with you or with me or Eli or Elijah, but oh my gosh, the Ole Miss fans, they are coming at you. I've gotten text after text and even some emails. Now, the committee had their rankings yesterday. You came out on Sunday, as you do every week, and give us an updated look at what you think will happen with the playoffs and with the bowl projections. And, you know, it's tough. It's a hard job. But for whatever reason, you do not have Ole Miss in, and you have Georgia in, and the Ole Miss fans are not happy. Can you explain yourself?
Yeah, I'll try. In the end, I don't think head-to-head is going to be everything because of enough interplay among these teams that some of these results kind of cancel each other out. So, you know, Alabama beats Georgia, Miss beats Georgia, Georgia might beat Tennessee, Mississippi has a home loss to Kentucky. They lost to LSU. There's just a lot going on here, and you know it's not a one-game season.
Well, let me say this, and you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. But Ole Miss, aren't they in the driver's seat? They got 2 games in Florida.
Who's not?
But they got Florida. They got the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State. They should win, not get into the SEC championship. They're fine. They're 10-2 with a win over Georgia. I think they're in. I think they're solid, and I was happy to see the committee put Ole Miss ahead of Georgia last night. Do you not agree with that?
The head-to-head certainly came into play there. Georgia gets Tennessee this week. That's going to have a lot to say with what happens with all of these teams. Because obviously if Georgia gets beat, they're eliminated. And then Tennessee is on their way almost certainly then to an SEC championship game, likely against Texas, although they still have to play at A&M.
Right.
This league, it's funny. When I did my bowl projections, this week. I had Texas in first in the regular season and a 6-way tie for second. And the tiebreaker for that is the record of the conference record of your conference opponent. And, based on my ability to correctly predict the result of every SEC game going forward, Alabama ended up in the championship game, and I think they're better than Texas. I think Georgia is as well. So I ended up with Alabama winning, and then I think I had Georgia in, but not Mississippi, huh?
Yes, you got Georgia in and not Mississippi, and that's why they're upset.
Yeah. And it's because of Georgia's schedule, which by the end of the year, first of all, it's number one now, going to be number one at the end, and I think that's going to be hard in the end for the committee to just deny Georgia what they've had to do over the entire season versus one game.
By the way, on that, I did the math on that 6-way tiebreaker as well, and it's very close between Alabama and LSU. And Missouri and their game against Arkansas and their game against South Carolina will actually probably decide who plays the SEC championship game.
It could certainly be that way.
It's crazy. The Missouri-Arkansas game alone probably will decide between Alabama and LSU if we come to that tiebreaker.
It could very well, and that is crazy. It's it's just nuts. So I think ultimately, though, when you look at Georgia's strength of schedule at the end of the year, they're going to have played 5 teams in the rankings, and that's if they, assuming they don't make the conference championship game, then won't have lost outside the rankings, and Ole Miss will have played 3 and have a home loss to what is now 3-6 Kentucky. And I just think that's too big a difference. This for that one game to stand up at the end of the year. But the committee does, as we saw this week, respect head-to-head as best they can. So maybe they will.
Do you think if Georgia beats Tennessee this week, they could jump Ole Miss next week?
I think they will, right? Yeah.
I think they could, yeah. I think they could. Then they would have beaten both Texas and Tennessee.
Yeah.
But what I'm
saying, by the way, all of these games away from home, except for the Tennessee game. But Texas on the road, Alabama on the road, Mississippi on the road, Clemson neutral. They're finally going to get a home game against a good team.
But what I'm saying is Georgia, because, Georgia this upcoming week is either going to leapfrog with a win or they're going to be in deep trouble with a loss.
So they're out with a loss.
But it's
not just deep trouble. They're not making it with 3 losses.
Yeah, but it's not Georgia for Ole Miss. To me, it's not going to be Georgia getting back in is not going to be at the expense of Ole Miss, in my opinion. I think the one that'll get hurt the most from this is Tennessee.
Well, that could very well be. Yeah, it certainly could be. They don't play each other, do they?
No,
they don't. So, Tennessee's schedule, is Georgia and Alabama, and in terms of the better teams in this league, and I'm not missing one, am I? It's those two, and they also have a loss, outside the rankings. That to me is going to be, if it comes to it, a tougher call for the committee. Mm-hmm. If it's Ole Miss and Tennessee, but I think I would lean Ole Miss.
Yeah, and the other one that could screw things up is A&M. If A&M could beat Texas, that would really screw some things up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The permutations for this league are nuts.
Yeah.
Almost everything is still possible because you have so many teams in contention, and LSU is not an at-large team. They have to win the league.
Yeah.
But LSU actually still can win the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Again,
I think there's 8 teams in play, 1 or 2 conference losses.
Yeah, it's and like Missouri is not even you don't even think about Missouri, but Missouri still only has 2 conference losses. They're theoretically going to be a part of that tie. Now they're not getting in or anything like that. But
there's 9 teams in the top 25 of the ranking.
And again, Missouri actually will decide who gets into the SEC championship. There's a good chance Missouri will decide who gets in, even though it definitely is not going to be them. And they're not playing any of the other teams. It's just their record and the record of those teams that they're playing that are going to determine it. The thing is,
it's a nuts scenario, and I may be looking at that scenario again this week and come up with a different result in terms of who plays for the title.
Yeah, so don't come after Jerry with your pitchforks.
The thing is with
I mean, they can. Why should they be any different? You just got to get in
Ole
line.
Miss, if in the end Ole Miss somehow, and I don't think they're getting left out, I think 10-2 Ole Miss gets in, but if they do, like the committee can always come back to, you lost at home to Kentucky. Like that, in the end, that would be the thing that will kill them. If anything would kill them, it will always be you lost at home to Kentucky.
Yep. I mean, and we're not even having a conversation about. We're having a conversation about whether or not Ole Miss will get a bye.
Well, Notre Dame lost
If
at home to
they beat
Northern
Kentucky.
Illinois, but
Exactly.
let's not split hairs.
But Notre Dame doesn't have to win a conference, and they did beat A&M on the road.
They did.
So, and Northern Illinois is not Kentucky. I mean, those are both bad teams. But Kentucky, if they show up, would probably beat Northern Illinois.
I would think so. I would think so, but who knows?
No, but again, you're talking about it's
talking about one loss,
one loss,
2 losses
versus 2, and you're talking about who you're comparing yourself to. Ole Miss is in a big group of SEC teams trying to separate themselves. The big thing that separates them
Especially
is a
they seem to be
horrendous
trying to
loss
conceal
that
themselves.
Georgia
They
doesn't
don't really
have,
try-
and these others don't have horrible losses like that.
Yeah. But they don't really look like they're trying to separate. They really look like they're trying to get together. I'm hoping for. I don't know if they even think this is mathematically possible, but I would like an 8-way tie for first.
you want total chaos. I'm always the one rooting for chaos. Jerry Palm joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest lines. All right, in the Big Ten, Indiana's got the big one a week from Saturday against Ohio State. I think it's going to be a really good game, but if they get clocked, how much damage to Indiana?
Plenty. Yeah, a lot. Because you basically played one good team and got smoked. So what you're showing is, even though it's on the road, you don't belong in that company. Now, does it mean they'll miss the college football playoff? Yeah, they might. When you play a wretched schedule, and I'm not blaming them for their schedule entirely. In fact, it's a perfectly 3/4 of it the league assigned. One of those teams, the defending national champion, is been mediocre.
Right.
But the league assigns your conference schedule, and they scheduled poorly outside the league because they've been bad forever. So why should they schedule up?
Yeah.
So they are where they are because they have annihilated all but one of the teams on this bad schedule so far. Now, if they go and they play up to the level that the committee is ranking them at the moment, and they get smoked, well, that's a revelation, right? So, yeah, they're going to probably drop precipitously, maybe even all the way out of the playoff, and then take it out on Purdue the next week.
FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte were their 3 non-conference games.
Yep.
Ouch.
But when you've been bad for a decade
I
or
understand.
more,
Yes.
you can't blame them for scheduling games like that.
Sure, and they schedule so many years in advance.
And then that's only a quarter of their schedule. If they got Purdue's conference schedule, we would know about Indiana because they would have already played Ohio State and they would have already played, not Notre Dame, that's not a conference game, but they're going to play, Purdue plays Penn State this week. They've got Illinois. Every team that's in the rankings, Purdue is going to play. So if Indiana had that schedule, we'd already know about them.
If they would have got Ohio State's schedule, Ohio State's the one that like their Ohio State
Well,
got a
and that's-
tough schedule.
It's funny because you've got those 4 teams at the top of the rankings, and no other Big Ten team probably anywhere near the rankings. And those 4 teams, Ohio State plays all of the other 3, but then the other 3 don't play each other.
I
So
know,
those
isn't
are
that
the
crazy?
only 3 games. They all play Ohio State.
Big Ten schedule makers give Ohio State their best chance to win a natty. Well, Oregon now is in there, but Ohio State best chance normally to win a natty, and Michigan last year. But they give them the toughest schedule, and then Georgia in the SEC, the same deal. They give them the toughest schedule.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Army comes in the American, they give them the easiest schedule.
and you don't always know in advance what the toughest schedule is going to be.
True. But they're, not making the league schedule 5 years ago
the thing
for
is,
this year.
Going into the season, Indiana would have been considered one of the easier games on Ohio State's schedule.
Right. Yep. But they make the schedule in the spring, right?
Because Ohio State,
actually, conference schedules are usually decided. They're not decided the year before. They're like the Big Ten has got a 4-year schedule.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they
okay.
put that together. Now they put that together once they knew they were going to have an 18-team league. So it's within the last year that they put that forward. But they put a 4-year schedule together, and the idea, of course, is to, you're trying to get home and homes with everybody in a 4-year span. So it's just easier to decide the opponents so that you get that sort of balance over 4 years and try and play as, home and home against everybody in that 4-year span. So that's why they did it. And then they'll probably do it again. But usually, non-conference games can be decided years in advance. Conference games a little bit closer, but not just the summer before.
Yeah, the SEC announces theirs like usually a year out.
That's what I thought, but
like
I
SEC
didn't know
already knows their opponents next year, and this one they announced last year.
But do you think they have it beyond next year? Like they know what their 26 schedule is? I don't think they do.
I mean, next
right?
year's is kind of the reverse of this year because it's just you flip the home and homes a lot. But they'll announce next year's or the following years at the beginning of next season. They always announce theirs like towards the beginning of the season. They announce the next.
I
year's
guess
schedule.
I would expect the SEC to do the same thing the Big Ten did, which is basically next year's schedule, opposite locations.
Okay. Yeah, that's next year for this year, but then the following year they'll change. I would assume they'll change opponents, and they'll do that about a year out. They usually do it at like the start of one season. They announce the next season's things. Do you believe Miami should have fallen further?
There wasn't much further to fall.
Well, Georgia fell further, and Georgia lost on the road to a top 10 team.
But Georgia picked up a second loss.
But again, why does it always have to just come down to pure number of losses? Georgia was ahead of them, lost to a better team on the road. Why does Georgia have to fall? If they were ahead of them with one loss versus none, why can't they be ahead of them with 2 versus 1?
They could have.
I think they are putting.
I thought their floor was going to be behind Notre Dame. I thought that would be their floor.
You know what I think they're doing, Jerry? Seriously, and you will disagree because you don't believe in conspiracies. They're making sure that they're already going to hose the not really hose because they probably deserve only the champion. Big 12 and the ACC is getting the champion. That's all they're getting, and they're making sure that those teams are right now. They're trying to make sure that Boise State does not get one of the top 4 seeds. So they're making sure that those teams are ahead. But pretty soon, if they keep losing, Boise State's going to have to jump them, and I don't know if they want to do that. So that's what I think they're doing. Personally,
I don't think they could do much about it. What if SMU beats them?
If SMU is right now behind Boise, right?
Yeah, but they'll jump them.
They'll jump them.
See, I don't see much of a realistic scenario for Boise in the top 4.
Right.
Barring just abject chaos. I don't see a scenario without some significant upsets where Boise doesn't end up the 5th.
Although look at their game with Oregon. What was it? A 2-point game?
3. I think 3-pointer.
3-point game.
Yeah.
And did they lose to Washington or beat Washington State?
Boise has only the loss to Oregon. They actually killed Washington State.
Yeah,
it was like a 3-touchdown win.
Yeah, so I mean, come on. I mean, Washington State's got one loss. They're really good, and they lost by 3 to Oregon. But they're never going to jump unless they have to, unless they're desperate. They're never going to jump those teams because they don't want Boise State, Group of 5 school, getting one of the top 4 seeds. I'm telling you, man, it's politics.
It would be. I mean, I think it's going to happen someday, this year, someday. It's by the way, the record for the highest ranked team with one loss from the Group of 5 in the final rankings is Memphis when they were 17th. What was that, like 2019?
Oh yeah,
in the final ranking, they had one loss
when they beat SMU and.
Yeah, and then a couple years later, or maybe it was 22, Tulane was 16th with 2 losses. So that's the highest ranked Group of 5 team in the final rankings that's not undefeated.
Okay.
Tulane was 16th. So Boise's going to smash that record. I think Boise's best chance to be in the top 5, in a bye, is the Big 12, not the ACC.
A couple other things.
I wanted to. Do you think they would be ahead of Colorado if Colorado's the Big 12 champ?
Yes.
We'll see. They might jump Colorado. Bowl projections. I see now you got Liberty Bowl with, better say it, the AutoZone at Liberty Bowl. Harold might be listening. Vanderbilt. You got Vanderbilt representing the SEC. I know they're going after Vanderbilt. You got TCU, which is possible in the Big 12. I can tell you that they're sending representatives to the game this week between Baylor and West Virginia. So keep an eye on that.
Yep.
And then,
West Virginia was there not that long ago. I remember that they liked having West Virginia there. So
where do you have Memphis?
That wouldn't surprise me.
You got Memphis and Georgia Tech in the military. Quick thoughts on what we've seen so far early in the college basketball season. Last night we had some horrible shooting in the Champions Classic, but you had the upset for Kentucky, and Kansas holds off Michigan State.
Yeah, that was a nice win for Kentucky, especially for the new coach, Mark Pope. Trying to get established at a place where you're expected to be established immediately. That's a big win. I guess Cooper Flagg they had a great game until the end and turned the ball over a couple of times, and it really hurt him. But that, and you can see why everybody's excited about him.
He's really good.
Yeah, that kid can play. I didn't really get to see the first game because I was getting ready for the ranking show and stuff, so I didn't really watch much of that. I saw Kansas, some of the North Carolina games, so I didn't feel, and I'll see Michigan State a million times. So I didn't think it was urgent, but
you didn't miss anything. It was horrible. The shooting would have blinded you. Luckily, Kansas has Hunter Dickinson because he was a stud.
So, but yeah, that was good. Alabama's coming to Purdue this week, so I'm looking forward to that. Although it looks like a problem for Purdue, but
no Zach
anyway. You're not going to send him back, I assume.
No, he's here for keeps. Good stuff as always. He's Jerry Palm, CBS Sports. Check out CBSSports.com, his latest projections for the bowls, for the playoff. Of course, keep up to date with college basketball as well as it gets closer to all the the bracketologies on a daily basis. It'll eventually happen as we get really close to the NCAA tournament. He's the best. He's Jerry Palm. He's with us each and every Wednesday during both the college football and basketball seasons. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. Thank you, Jerry.
Right, thanks.
Take care.
East Coast Wings and Grill for great food, great atmosphere, great drinks, place to watch the games. But you don't have to be watching games to be there to enjoy some of the great food over at East Coast Wings and Grill, of course, with their fantastic wings with 60 flavors to choose from. Of course, also 7 different heat indexes available with those wings, whether you're going bone-in or boneless. They've got that taken care of. They got 24 draft beers on tap, all kinds of other great food. They got great burgers on that menu. Their flatbreads, other sandwiches, all kinds of great items on the menu to check out at East Coast Wings and Grill. Plus, I mentioned the 24 draft beers, any other drinks that you want. They've got you taken care of for that as well. And when there is games on, plenty of TVs to watch all of the action. Located in Bartlett, just off Highway 64, right between Lowe's and Walmart on Kate Hyde Boulevard. Online, eastcoastwings.com, where you can order online. You can also get it delivered via DoorDash. They are East Coast Wings and Grill.
You are dialed in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Mayweather Boxing and Fitness offers a high-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rowers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:51 the time. Wrapping up hour number 2, getting you set for our final hour. Talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole, Grizz and the Lakers tonight. And Parthu Pajai at 9:25 as we discuss Memphis Tigers basketball. Tigers back in action on Friday night. They'll take on Ohio at 7 o'clock at FedEx Forum. Friday night's going to be a busy night. We have the Tigers. I have that big event that we talked to John Neal about yesterday, the Courage Through Cancer celebration event at Botanic Gardens. So I'm going from the game to that, the final hour of that. That means I will not be able to see, I'm sure I can watch the replay of it, the Tyson-Paul fight, which is Friday night on Netflix. A lot of people get Netflix, so a lot of people will probably watch. Why am I interested in this one as opposed to any of those other weird boxing matches from the past when like a celebrity-esque type person fought a former champion and this and that? Well, 2 reasons. One, he's Mike Tyson, for goodness sakes. Okay? And number 2, this Jake Paul is actually now a legitimate boxer. I don't think he's great, but he's big. He is formidable. He's strong. He's the best marketer I have seen. That to be able to do what he and his brother have done, to make millions upon millions upon millions, starting out as YouTubers and doing that media stuff. Everybody's trying to catch lightning in a bottle now. So everything goes on video and is uploaded, whatever it is, TikTok, whatever the case may be, whatever the medium is. But I give him credit because I watched the 3-part series on Netflix leading up to this fight. And of course, the fight was delayed because of the ulcer that flared up for Tyson. And I know he's, 56 years old. I understand that. But watch the video of this guy working out. He's an absolute monster. Now, again, Paul is big. He's a big dude. But, does his slowness offset Tyson? Not as quick as, obviously, when he was in his 20s. But he's still quick if you watch. The only thing I'm concerned about, Tyson's really, really friendly with him. And Tyson was never like that with other fighters. And so I'm just worried that I know they have different rules, but it's not too bad. It's 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds. They'll only go, I think, 8 rounds total. They have bigger gloves. I get that. That's fine. But just if you can assure me that Mike Tyson, as he prepares for this fight and looks like pretty much the monster that he's always been in the ring, is going to be like that and not hold back, then I don't get it. This should be an absolute demolition. Will Paul run around? Yeah, he's going to run around a little bit. Not like run around like he's scared, but he's going to run around to try to avoid those punches. He's never been hit by a guy who hits this hard, even at his age. So I'm just concerned, Eli, that there might be a lack of legitimacy to it in the sense that they're probably setting up another fight. Tyson is not the money bags guy that he used to be. I mean, his net worth is not, I mean, compared to you and me, but it's not even close to what it once was. Paul's the rich guy, and his brother's even richer. So, you know, I think maybe they're setting something else up, and I just wonder if he'll not go 100%, although that's not in Tyson's DNA, right?
I firmly believe that Mike Tyson's going to, well, he'll know that he needs to knock him out. If I think Paul's only chance is to run around and tire out Mike Tyson. If Tyson catches him one time, I think it's over.
I do too. I think have you seen any odds on it? Elijah, have you seen any odds on this fight? Are they out there?
I'll check and see.
I have not seen the odds, no.
I mean, Tyson's got to be a very heavy favorite. And it's interesting when you watch the documentary and the trainers, of course, they're going to be encouraging their fighters and they're going to talk positive about them with the media. You know, with Paul's trainers and what they say about him, that he's going to hurt Tyson. I just don't see it. Tyson is like Iron Mike Tyson for a reason. And he looks like a damn, I don't know. He's a bull. He's like a raging bull, and still, he's not some big fat slob or anything like that. You might think for all those years of inactivity. No, he has stayed in, and he's really got in good shape for this fight, but he's always stayed in pretty good shape. Paul he has turned into a big guy. I mean, he is a big guy, and he's become a better fighter. So it's not a joke. So that's one of the reasons why I want to watch this fight. I think it's more legitimate than these other weird combination fighters, because this guy's now a boxer. Paul is now a boxer. He was an influencer. He's a boxer now. But this is Mike Tyson. He's one of the greats of all time, and he has the respect for Tyson. But I'm just surprised the way Tyson's reacting. I mean, I guess he knows Paul is his ticket right now to make more money at his age, right? So will he treat him a little bit differently than he did those other opponents, those other suckers, other than, you know, when it eventually ended for him with Buster Douglas, that run of invincibility? I wonder if it'll be something like that where it just doesn't. I want Tyson to go 100%. If he does, he will destroy this guy. I got nothing against Paul. I love Mike Tyson. I want to see him. But I'm worried that there might be some shenanigans.
Matt texts in on the Sisters Log Cabin listener line. He says, the thing is, Tyson's so old, we have no idea how he can handle a punch now. Who knows how long it's been since he took a real punch from a big dude like that.
Are you watching the documentary? He just went a full, I don't know how many rounds he did, 6 rounds. They just did a simulation fight where he went up against a fighter that is as big as Paul and pretty much the same technique as Paul. He just did a whole fight, and Tyson messed him up. So watch that documentary.
I don't think Tyson will get punched. So
he's still fast, which again, it's not trick photography I'm looking at, right? Even in this day and age, you don't believe anything you see. Watch the documentary, and you'll see. You go, oh, okay, looks like Tyson still has it. I mean, he's knocking these sparring partners around, and then the poor trainers are getting knocked back 5 feet when he's, hitting the bag and doing the things that he does to train.
I know I wouldn't get in the ring with him. I don't care how old he is. I would not want to be punched by that dude.
Wow, my son just texted me. He said Paul is minus 130 to beat Tyson. Sounds like shenanigans. How?
Again, if he can stay away from Tyson will. I don't think Tyson can go more than like 2 rounds. Like I think Tyson will be worn out. But if Tyson can catch him and hits him with one good punch, I think it's over.
Well, he knows how to narrow down that ring. It's not his first rodeo. So even though Paul will be running around, I mean, Paul is still. I don't think Paul's a chicken by any stretch of the imagination. So he'll try to come in and get in a punch or two and get out. But you're right. Once Tyson gets him, if he can cut down the ring, get him into the corner, he's going to drop him. I mean, I can't see it not happening. But again, minus 130, Paul, that is nuts. All right, we'll take a break. Come back. Hour number 3. We're talking Grizzlies and we're talking Tigers basketball. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for unlimited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Witten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always shoot with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory they've got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock, and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure, Witten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Are you getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage? At Southern Security, we offer low rates, flexible terms, no PMI, and unbeatable service. Refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage lender. For more information, visit us online at southernsecurity.org or call our office at 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender. Southern Security is a proud supporter of the University of Memphis Athletics, federally insured by the NCUF.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still working several accidents out here. There's slipping and sliding going on with this rain. Continues to come down pretty good out here. It's still heavy over here at times on 40 westbound at Sycamore View Road, trying to get up on that flyover there onto 240. Some of that traffic is getting off there onto Sam Cooper. It continues to build inbound on Bill Morris Parkway 385 as you work your way past Riverdale all the way up to 240. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:04 the time, hour 3 here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Wednesday, November 13th, 2024 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers will be joined by DeMichael Cole in just a moment. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. Go visit them today at 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. Steady rain this morning. Could have some thunder showers a little bit later on this morning. 67 for a high. It's currently 56. May get an inch or more of rain in your area. Tonight, rain showers this evening with clearing overnight, low of around 50. And then tomorrow looks to be nice, sunny with the high of only 62. But that's the way it should be for mid-November. Got a little bit more on Tyson Paul in a second, then DeMichael Cole. Do want to tell you about our third-hour sponsor, Jenkins Floors and More. Again, folks, if you're looking for flooring, carpeting, ceramic and porcelain tiles, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms, plantation shutters, blinds as well, this is the place for you. They sell at wholesale, skip the middleman, and save you lots of money in the process. They're a short trip from anywhere in the metropolitan Memphis area, located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock. They can do the job for you. They'll come, they'll give you a free estimate, and they'll get the job done in 2 weeks. That is their promise to you. Or just come by if you're a contractor or a do-it-yourself homeowner. Get the material at a great rate. It's top-of-the-line material, and do it yourself. Give them a call if you have any questions, 662-469-9350. They're open Monday through Saturday. Financing available at Jenkins Floors and More. So I get an update from my son. He said it's now minus 210 for Paul to win. He said the betting odds say Paul, the best bet for the win, will be knocking out Tyson. He said there's heavy money on Paul. It's rigged. I'm concerned that it's rigged too. There's something weird about it because Mike Tyson, I don't care. He's not 90. This guy should absolutely destroy Paul. All right, time to talk some Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole.
It's time to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Here's DeMichael with Greg and Eli.
It is definitely breakfast with DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal, who you can follow on Twitter at DeMichael C, because it is very early out there on the left coast. DeMichael, thank you for getting up.
I'm ready, Greg. Appreciate you.
You just wake up about 5 minutes ago, or you been up?
No, I've been up about a good 30. So like my body still adjusted to the regular time, and I didn't stay out too long yesterday or anything. Like we're all good.
Well, the reception is not great, so I'm going to tell you what. We're going to put you on hold and see if we can get a little better reception. DeMichael, it's kind of having like a little feedback, a little reverb rather. So let's get that straightened out. We'll put DeMichael on hold. And we'll get that straightened out with Elijah. So we appreciate DeMichael joining us here. Again, the Grizzlies tonight should have Marcus Smart back, as he's questionable. Brandon Clark's questionable. Again, questionable usually means you're going to play. What's happened to BC?
I'm not sure what his injury is. I don't remember what it said on the injury report.
All right. Got the thumbs up from Elijah. Let's bring DeMichael back on. DeMichael, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, sounds much better. Okay, so tonight, do you expect Marcus Smart to be in the lineup tonight?
Yeah, I do. I think he'll be back. He was a full participant at practice out here on yesterday. They practiced at the Intuit Dome, the new place.
Oh, did they really?
So, yeah, they practiced out there. So it's pretty nice facility. But yeah. So he was at practice. Full participant, things trending in the right direction, I guess you would say. They're not going to pretty much – I think they'll do the same thing they were doing with some of the guys early in the season, say it's a game-time decision. I know Taylor told me yesterday we'll see how he feels when he wakes up today. But
right.
The intention seems to be they want Marcus Smart back today.
And then if everything goes the way they normally do it, I would expect that we see Vince Williams listed as questionable on Friday and we see him play.
Yeah, Vince is close. He had a good workout on yesterday too. So yeah, they're gonna start to get some of these guys back really soon. I know Desmond Bane is also starting to do some contact stuff. So slowly but surely, the band's gonna start falling in place.
Does he ease Marcus back in tonight and have him come off the bench, or is he going to be the starter as he normally is? And if so, what do you think that starting lineup looks like?
You know what? This is one of those decisions why coaches get paid the big bucks, because you got to kind of go with your gut, whichever way you choose to go here. It's like that thing where in baseball, players always say, "Look at the back of my baseball card." Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the back of Marcus Smart's card, you see a very accomplished player over the course of his career. But if you just look at the small sample size of this season, he struggled. So you're weighing those two things. But at the same time, if it was me, I'm saying, hey, look, Marcus, all respect to your game, but we're beating the crap out of teams right now. Like blowout wins. We won 5 out of 6. All 5 of those wins are by at least 17 points. You've missed those last 6 games while things have, trended up. So you know what? We're going to bring you off the bench. If everything goes well off the bench, then we'll put you in to close the game. You'll play more minutes in the second half. But let's see if this thing that we've, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, I know Taylor really respects what Marcus brings to the game with his defensive tenacity, with his defensive playmaking, with the deflections, the steals, with his physicality. You're going to need that physicality when you see LeBron James, who scored 39, on them with Marcus Smart out of the lineup. So maybe he's looking at, part of that is, hey, look, if we want to slow down LeBron this time, we need Marcus Smart out there. So I think he starts, but if it was me, I wouldn't.
Is Anthony Davis is expected to play, right?
Yeah, Anthony Davis is good to go.
Okay. The change that the Grizzlies made with bringing Zach Edey off the bench, is that kind of an experimental thing? Do you think that will be more of a long-term thing? How do you – because it's worked. They continue to win, and he actually has played well off the bench. How do you think they handle that going forward?
Yeah, so this was kind of, in a way, always part of the plan. We were talking about it in the preseason, how, there would be certain matchups where they would, go more towards Brandon Clark. And we saw it even one game in the preseason where they started Brandon Clark and brought Zach Edey off the bench. So I think over the course of the season, I think it's just part of the process of helping, Zach Edey get accumulated, and becoming the best version of himself. Brandon Clark has been really good defensively to start this season. I was talking to BC the other day about, his chemistry with Jaren Jackson Jr., and we hear that a lot, but, you don't hear people really saying exactly what is it that makes that chemistry so good outside of their games just being different on the offensive end. But defensively, to me, that's where it really stands out. And we were talking about that, and Brandon Clark just seemed to really agree with me, because if you go back and watch that last game against the Lakers, Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. put on a defensive clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaren was LeBron's, he was LeBron's primary defensive assignment a lot of times. And Bron would bring the other big up for pick and rolls, and Jaren and Brandon would just switch everything. And that's kind of been what they've always done, but hearing Brandon break it down from the standpoint of basically when me and Jaren are in the game, we pretty much switch everything. With the other bigs, it's not as simple as that. When Zach Edey and Jay Huff is in the game, there has to be a little bit more communication. Maybe you switch this. Maybe he's going to, Zach Edey's going to, be in the drop on this. With BC and Jaren, it's simple. We can guard the same guys. You can guard that guy on the perimeter. I can guard that guy on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
I can hold my own in the paint against that guy just like you can hold your own. They switch everything. They simplify it, and that makes the opposing offense really play kind of this one-on-one style of basketball. So with all that being said, Brandon Clark has been really good defensively. You just touched on it, Eli. The fact that they started him as of late has kind of been part of the reason why the defense has gone to another level, during this stretch. But Zach Edey also has adjusted really well coming off the bench. He's still progressing game by game, whether it's bench starter. You're really seeing the progress of him, as a player. So, yeah, of course, at some point, Zach Edey's going to just be entrenched in the starting lineup. But right now, they're trying to win games, and it's working.
To Michael Cole from the Commercial Appeal, joining us from Los Angeles on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest lines. Unfortunately, we're not going to get LeBron versus Ja Part 2, with Ja being out tonight. But it does appear that Anthony Davis will play where he did not in the first game in the meeting in Memphis. How do you defend Anthony Davis?
Oh man, that's $1 million question in this one. But you got the bodies, This team has said so much we everyone's talking about the big men being the strength, right? You got 5 guys theoretically that you could throw at them with, Santi, Jaron, Jay Huff, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark. But at the same time, we're going to see who's the best matchup. I know Jaron will be able to hold his own, but you want to keep Jaron out of foul trouble, right? Especially with, Ja Morant down, with Desmond Bain down. You need Jaron to be forceful on the offensive end. So I would give Jaron the primary assignment, but at the same time, you got Brandon Clark right there, and I think you'll see how Zach Edey fares in that matchup. Small sample size. I'm looking forward to seeing how Zach Edey, kind of competes against a real mobile big, like that of Anthony Davis. So you got the bodies. So you just throw different bodies at them, give them different looks defensively, and just see how it works out.
The last 3 games, they've scored 131, 128, 134. Is that a sign that this new offense is really starting to click, or is it just the opponents that they played?
Oh, the opponents are part of it, but it's also a sign of the defense kind of starting to really turn a corner, as well. Because with the Grizzlies, it's simple. When they get out, they play defense. They get those steals. They get those blocks. They're able to get out, run in transition, create advantages for themselves, and that's how this offense is in its best form. But yeah, Portland beat Minnesota yesterday somehow, some way, but the roster is just terribly constructed right now. Like, they had lineups out there. We saw Jonathan Clingan and Robert Williams playing together simply because they got too many centers, so they got to throw them out there on the floor together. And it looked like the '80s, that would have been a great lineup, but not today in today's game. But yeah, same thing with Washington. Like, Jaren just feasted on the poor young guy over there. Alex Starr is going to be a great defender, but he's not ready for Jaren yet. Yeah, so part of it is the matchups. Again, the other game, you played the Lakers on the road where they've struggled, plus without Anthony Davis, which means 39-year-old Bron had to carry the torch there, and you get the feeling that he's liking the idea of deferring more to Anthony Davis as the 1A guy now. So they've had some good luck, but that all goes out the window this stretch, because now you're going on the road against an undefeated Lakers team. You're going against a Warriors team that, let's be honest, they just look like one of the better teams in the league right now. And then you get to go back home, but your reward of coming back home is 2 games against the Nuggets. So we'll learn a lot these next 4 games.
And then you'll have the Sixers, who you beat in Philly without Embiid and George, and they're both back. Embiid looked horrible last night, but by the time they play next Wednesday, he'll probably be back in the groove. So, yeah, at least the Grizzlies, for the injuries that they sustained, they not only were treading water, they actually did pretty well. 7 of 11 to start the season. Again, inferior competition to what the Grizzlies should be. But they won most. They had like a bad loss against the Nets. Maybe they got swept by the Nets. They lost that game to the Bulls. Maybe they should have won that one. You can't win them all. 7-4 with the injuries they've had. Very respectable start, wouldn't you say?
Very respectable. This was the part of the schedule for the season. I saw it and I said they got to take advantage of this, because December is going to be real, for certain stretches. Like, you start December with the Pacers, then you got the Mavs, Kings, Celtics. You got the Warriors mixed in there, Pelicans, Thunder, Suns, and then same thing for January. January, you got some really good games mixed in, and pretty much the West. You're going to be playing most of the teams in the West. But early part of October and November, you play teams. The Magic were probably one of the better teams that they beat, but you had the Bulls, Nets. You had the Bucks, who struggled earlier in the season. We probably didn't expect that to play out that way. But, Lakers without AD. You got the Wizards, Blazers. They've done what they're supposed to do, and this is what they couldn't do last season. Early in the season, they had losses to some bad teams last year, but they're not playing with their food right now. So 5 or 6. That's good for them.
Final thing for you. I was reading the tweets from Kevin Garnett. I guess his podcast. He had Paul Pierce, his former teammate, on. I don't know if they do the podcast together normally, but it was interesting. They were talking about Anthony Edwards and John Morant and comparing them. And Garnett said, Lord, if you all forgot to put Ja in your narrative for this season, he done already woke you up 100%. I done warned you. Rewind the tape. His body control. He just goes on and on about Ja. And then Paul Pierce says, the only difference is Ja, with his playmaking and his creativity, is a little better than the Ant-Man. So you could have that debate, between those two. But then your buddy, your former workmate over at the Commercial Appeal, Mark Giannotto, tweets out, the real reason Anthony Edwards is, and then he puts in quotations, rightfully viewed as better than Ja Morant for now, has nothing to do with their skill sets. Although, again, Pierce and KG both said that they believe Ja's better. But Mark said Ja Morant has missed 128 games and counting since the 2020-21 season. Anthony Edwards, since that same 2020-21 season, has missed 17. Why do we not take that into consideration, and shouldn't we take that into consideration when saying who's a better player? Availability is pretty important.
Yeah, availability is always important, and I take it into consideration. I mean, I say it a lot. As amazing as John's been, it's the next step for me in terms of how does he become that player? Because his style of play, it's a aggressive, in a way, it's his style is always going to be conducive to some type of soreness because he's attacking the basket and he's every bit of 180 pounds, and he's going in there with the Giants. And as we saw with this last injury, it's that a lot of point guards wouldn't even have been in that situation because teammates aren't throwing them that alley-oop. It's not his fault that he's super athletic, right? That's a gift, but at the same time, in certain situations where we've seen him get injured, we've seen him take all these hard falls, it comes into play. There are guys like, Anthony Edwards, for example. He takes some hard falls. He's driving to the basket, trying to dunk on dudes as well, but Anthony Edwards is every bit of 235 pounds. Mm-hmm. So just more equipped to handle that. And we've seen it, with other players over the history of the game. Derrick Rose at the line. Russell Westbrook, right? Like he's still, super quick, super fast, but his knees, shoulder to hips, he's taking a beating, over the course of his career. So I don't think it's something that ever really goes away just because of the style, the brand that Ja plays, and you don't want him to change. The way he plays, like completely. He's done enough, I think, changes to make sure that he stays healthy. Mm-hmm. Ja's only had one dunk this season. I don't think people have really noticed that, and that's intentional. A lot of his finishes have been, fancy layups, getting to the basket, floaters. He's not dunking the basketball like trying to jump over guys. If you go back to that Lakers series, you see a bunch of plays where it's like, this dude's gonna at some point he's gonna fall down and gonna struggle to get back up.
Right.
But he's shifted his style of play some. So at this point, you're just waiting to see those results kind of come to fruition with him changing his play. You just got to see the results now.
All I'm saying is have a burger now and then. They got the In-N-Outs out there in California. Just, have a couple of burgers.
That's
it's
crazy
fine.
that he's only got one dunk.
I know.
I did not realize that.
That is the stat of the day. Brought to you by the one and only DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. You can follow him on Twitter at DeMichael C, joining us from Los Angeles. Thank you, DeMichael. Enjoy your time out west. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, take care, guys.
You too.
How about that?
One dunk. Wow. One completed
dunk?
dunk?
Had never really thought
We're talking
about
about one completed dunk.
But that's that's amazing. That's an idea that he would only have one dunk at this point in time. The holiday season, well, it is here. It's going to be shopping time before you know it. And Genesis Diamonds, well, they are ready. All new merchandise being brought in for the season. Fresh cut diamonds, latest styles, and premier jewelry. Every case over at Genesis Diamonds being replenished with gifts that will absolutely wow whoever it is that is on your holiday list this year. You can, whether you're looking to get engaged and want to pick out that perfect engagement ring, or looking for something simple like a pair of earrings or maybe a tennis bracelet, nobody gives you a better selection or more value than Genesis. And nobody at Genesis is working on commission. There's no pressure, no hidden agenda. They're just there to guide you educate you, and help you make the right decision for that gift this holiday season. If this is the year for that Rolex, well, they've got the massive selection of the luxury pre-owned Rolex watches over at Genesis Diamonds, and they are priced right. Go check them out for all your holiday gift idea needs. Go check them out at Genesis Diamonds, Poplar, and Perkins Extended.
We go from the Grizzlies to Tigers hoops. When we return, Parthu Pajai will join us in studio. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Sometimes you just want the naked facts, like the fun that comes from the quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This naked-style streetlight sports a narrow 471cc twin, along with a sleek TFT display, dual-disc front brakes, and standard ABS, all at an affordable price. Find fun in all the right places in the 2024 Honda CB500F. Available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Women Road in Olive Branch.
Keep central bankers up at night? The same thing that should be keeping you awake. America's massive debt. Right now, central banks worldwide are doing something unprecedented. They're buying gold at prices higher than ever before. These are the institutions that run the global financial system, and they're betting big on gold. The debt Trump's about to inherit isn't just a number, it's a warning sign. Think about it. The people who control the world's money are rushing to gold. Don't be the one who saw the signs, but did nothing. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com now. When central banks speak, wise investors listen. Just visit NobleGoldInvestments.com and use the promo code TRUMP, and you'll get up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with qualifying account. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Fiveash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports. Former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons. Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call. And former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show. Right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:30 the time. Parthu Pajai joins us here in just a moment. Tomorrow, Ryan Silverfield at 8:05, followed by the Tiger Football Report. We'll talk college basketball with Kerry Miller, and then the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Inside College Football Hour with Harold Grader. Of course, we'll start things off at 7 a.m. But as promised, time to talk some Tigers basketball with Barth.
It's time to talk Memphis Tigers basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is
Parth Upadhyay, the Tigers beat reporter for the Daily Memphian. Now here's Parth with Greg and Eli.
Look at this guy. He made it back from Vegas. I was concerned. Your first trip to Vegas.
A lot of
that
folks
you
were
would
concerned.
Yeah, we thought you'd end up in the desert like in The Hangover, and they'd have to find your body. But I'm glad you're safe and sound. You're back here. How
Made it back
was
in one piece. Yes,
How
sir.
was it?
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was a short stay, but a little bit overstimulating, right? You get there. I got there on Friday after a 6-hour flight delay. Thanks a lot, Spirit Airlines. And you get there and there's like just lights everywhere. It's like Disney World for adults.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, it is.
Anything you want to do, there's the ability to do it at all hours. It's amazing.
You're gambling in the airport. You walk off the plane, there's slot machines right there.
Did you sleep at all? That's actually the question.
I slept, especially that first night. I got there and I was kind of gassed from the travel and got a good night's sleep and enjoyed myself the second night out there.
Did you get enough
doubt.
time to walk around and see a little bit of the strip? And
A little bit. Mostly after the game on Saturday and then a little bit Sunday, and that was pretty much the extent of it.
Any
But,
thoughts of like, oh, I never want to come back to this place, or yes, I want to come back to this place?
No, I'd like to come back. I think that's the way I lean on that. Yeah, it was a fun time.
Did you walk into any of the sports books at the big casinos?
Walk
How
past
huge
them,
they
but
are?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's absolutely great.
They got a little bit of money out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's not theirs.
And the team the team stayed at Mandalay Bay, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So was there, any players trying to get down there to gamble?
I didn't. So they got
sneak
there.
in the casino?
They got there Thursday night.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, and I got there Friday, so I wasn't there for their first half day out there. And by the time I got there Friday, it was time to wind down and call it a night. So I didn't see the team much out and about in Vegas as we would for some of these other trips.
It's like I remember one time going with the team to Puerto Rico, and they have gambling in Puerto Rico, and at the hotel we were staying. And, I went down to, see what's going on, see the action and there were players playing. I'm like,
that's funny.
Yeah, how'd they get down there? What's going on with that? But this one, probably not. They were focused, business trip, as they say. And for the second straight game, questionable first half.
Oh, yeah.
Great second half. And they pick up a nice win over a solid running Rebels team.
Yeah, they flipped the switch again. And out of the 4 times we've seen them play, the 2 exhibitions against North Carolina, Alabama, and then the opener against Missouri, and now UNLV, they've done this 3 times, right? They've done this against Bama, where they came up short at the end because they were down by so many points at halftime, down by 20, I believe, at half, or 15, whatever it was. Did it against Mizzou, trailed by 14, only to come back and win, and then did it against UNLV on Saturday in Vegas, down by 12, and flip the switch and come back to win. Man, just the offensive display in the second half was amazing. I thought 71.4% shooting.
That's crazy.
I mean, I can't think of a game where they've done that under Penny Hardaway. I've been here 3 seasons now. They did it last year against Wichita State in the second half, but even that wasn't this drastic of a turnaround, I don't think.
Yeah, they didn't settle. They went to the hole. They got higher percentage shots.
Exactly.
What do you have any theory as to why they're having these struggles in the first half?
It's hard to say, right?
Did Penny say anything about it?
Yeah, Penny just said that eventually it's gonna bite them in the butt. If they don't kind of shore things up in that department and come out and play a full 40 minutes of basketball. But no, it's hard to say. We spoke to PJ Haggerty about it, who's kind of the conductor of this show offensively and is at least the on-court alpha. And he said the first half he spends time kind of dissecting and assessing how the defense is playing them and figuring out his spots, him personally, before attacking after halftime. But I don't know what the explanation is for the team's performance as a whole, changing so drastically from half to half.
He obviously has that it factor. He's a killer. He's got the killer instinct. Some will say, well, he reminds you of KD, but with Davis, he was more. He could shoot the 3.
He could.
I don't believe Haggerty can, and Haggerty knows it. He doesn't settle. He goes to the hole. Does he remind you of anybody else from the past that you have come in, involved in either by covering the team or just watching somebody on television?
As far as the Memphis Tiger?
No, anybody. Does he remind you of a particular player out there, just having that killer instinct to get it done in the end, to carry his team on his shoulders for the most part?
That's a good question. I think the Kendrick stuff it makes sense from a mentality standpoint. Like when the moment is big, like he knows that he has to take over and get a bucket. And we saw that with Haggerty with I think 45 seconds left. He baited that UNLV defender into a foul and got the N1 and sealed the game there. But
how about Eli? How about Jeremiah Martin?
Tough.
A little bit of Jeremiah Martin that year, that final year, when he just
carried
that team.
You just put the ball in his hands and let him go.
Watch him go to work, yeah.
Right. And Martin wasn't a great 3-point shooter, but just knew how to score. And that's the bottom line. He just knows how to score, and the ability to get to the free throw line is such a huge part of what he does. But he's a great finisher, knows how to score.
But to get the transition going, to beat the other team down the court like they did in the second half, to get higher percentage shots to get to the hole, that means you got to be doing something well on the defensive side.
No doubt, and I think that's what we've seen in both second halves of the regular season, where they've cranked up the defensive intensity, they've started pressing, they've gotten their opponent kind of rattled and out of rhythm, and once the turnovers start piling up, 1, 2, 3, 4, you see Memphis's offense start to click, and it's no coincidence that those easy buckets have primarily come in transition versus in the half-court offense.
As Penny talked about, why not do that earlier? Why they can't do that earlier or get that going earlier?
Yeah, he hasn't kind of dove into it too much, but I think the answer is, look, they've got 9 bodies, right? They've got 9 available scholarship players. If you press that button too early, then your guys don't have any legs, late into the game.
And there's always that chance you don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
We saw a little bit of it in the first game against Missouri, that you commit a bunch of fouls, then you can't be as aggressive in the second half.
Bingo. Yeah, 100%.
So I think certainly you got to be very careful with that limited amount of players. I like the limited amount of players because if he had, let's say, 13, 14 viable players, he would try to get them all in. That's what he has done.
That's how he plays. That's his philosophy, right? Like he tries to play everybody.
Exactly. I think
we saw it last season a bunch.
To a fault, right?
Yeah,
to a fault. But now it's to an advantage, with the exception of if anybody, knock on wood, goes down with an injury. But
we're seeing that a little bit already. Like, Penny said after the game that
That's
PJ
right.
Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter are both banged up. They both missed 3 practices last week. Haggerty with I know Tyrese Hunter was a kneecap issue, which is interesting that Penny said that.
Did he run into somebody?
He didn't elaborate much on that, but he said it was a kneecap issue. And with Hunter, I want to say it was an ankle. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's an ankle injury that he suffered.
Haggerty's which one's Haggerty? The ankle or the?
Haggerty's the ankle.
The ankle. Okay.
He suffered it
and
in
Hunter's
the Mizzou
the
game.
kneecap.
I think he landed on Musa, is what Penny said in the Mizzou game.
Mm-hmm.
But his adrenaline was so ramped up
He wouldn't
and
have known
high
it,
that
right?
he wouldn't have known it. Didn't know it until after that game, and then he missed 3 practices as a result. And then Tyrese Hunter has a kneecap issue that he also missed 3
Well,
practices.
the good thing with that is, you'll have almost a week off.
Exactly.
And then you're going to get almost a week off. But they'll play one game in 10, 11 days.
Yep.
In this stretch.
Yeah, it's really spread out until
it's not.
Until
Right?
it's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
Maui's obviously what you're doing there with Maui. You got 3 games in 3 days.
Yeah.
You have San Francisco the Thursday before, so it'll start to retch it up. But Friday they're back home. I would assume that we're going to see a better crowd than we did game 1 for Missouri. The assumption is because people now are looking at the team going, all right,
They've
they're
got some
playing
fight.
hard
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Penny. They got some fight.
Exactly.
Now, again, there's a lot going on Friday night. I understand that, the high school football playoffs and all kinds of stuff. But, the crowd that was there for Missouri was certainly enthusiastic, and they played off that crowd certainly in the second half. So I think there's a good chance that, people are liking what they're seeing.
And starting to buy in more.
Buy in, absolutely. Ohio, they lost last night by 10 at Illinois State. They are picked to win the MAC. They're off to a 1-2 start.
Yeah, it's disappointing a little bit because you expected Ohio to be better. Like you said, this was the favorite to win the MAC. This is a team that was, had an outside chance to make the NCAA tournament because of the potential to win their conference. But now they've lost to James Madison by 10 to open the season. James Madison's 182nd in Ken Palm. They scraped by UNC Asheville, and UNC Asheville's 213 in Ken Palm, and that was at home. They won by 6. They didn't win going away by any means. And then last night you lose to Illinois State, by 10. So now you've got a Ohio team that slid all the way down to 161 in Ken Palm, right? This is a team that started off, I want to say, in the 120s, the 118 neighborhood.
118, yeah.
118 is what it is, right?
Yep.
You're looking at it right now. Okay, yeah. So now this is Memphis's, metrically, its worst opponent until... Man, I'm scrolling down the schedule until they see.
So conference play.
Yeah, I was going to say some of those
but
teams in the
not
conference.
just conference play, but until Rice in particular. February 2nd, Rice is 206.
Where's La Tech?
Louisiana Tech is 91st. So it's a top 100 team. Exactly. So the schedule that didn't have very many give-me's all of a sudden, looks like maybe this one is a give-me, maybe it's not. I do think something Penny mentioned is trying to get his bench guys some minutes, right? Because of P.J. Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter's injuries, because of their workload. They played 36 minutes apiece, I think, last game against UNLV. So, getting guys like Baraka Okoji and Jared Harris and P.J. Carter some extended run, I think this would be a good game to do that.
Yeah, you'd think this is – and Ohio, you look at they have been god-awful defensively. Like, they don't guard anybody. Teams are shooting 48% from three-point range against them, which that's a stunning number.
That's
3 games into a season. Against those against the competition they're playing, they give up 48% three-point shooting. But, I mean, this is a game that you hope – you can put away, you just get off to a good start, put them away early, and use that bench.
Yeah, depending on how that game goes, maybe a dink sighting in this game on Friday night, right? Could go really deep, deep on that bench. But hopefully they come out of the gates quickly, which they have not done in the first 2 games, and they don't have to worry about having that big second half, like you said, save some of the minutes for the trip out west.
They'll need them.
Have you started to look ahead to San Francisco and their game, which will be a week from Thursday, week from tomorrow?
A little bit. I saw they beat Boise State, Boise State was one of the favorites to win the Mountain West, and they got a win there. I think that was Friday night as well, or the Saturday. I'm sorry, the same night that Memphis played UNLV. So San Francisco looks good. I think, like we said, this Ohio game will be a little bit of a break. If it is that, and then it gets right back to heavy competition, starting with San Francisco in the Bay Area.
Has there been any more conversation or rumors about the possibility of adding a player midseason like he did last year when he added Naquan Tomlin?
Yeah, we've asked Penny about that a couple times, mainly last week, obviously after Tyreek Smith left, and he said that he's always looking, and if there is somebody available in December that can help the team, then he'll certainly look to make that move. And I believe him. Like, he left that roster spot open, space is open, for a reason. And now you're looking at even more of a vacancy there with Tyreek Smith gone. So I think they need to add something, right, in the front court. Wouldn't you guys agree?
But who's out there that can help?
You got to look at the waiver wire.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, like, who hasn't played at all this? Like, who? Last year we knew about Tomlin. Right. It was obvious that he hadn't played at all and was available to play this season. Like, how many people out there that could actually help this team are out there?
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any.
That's tough.
Yeah, I have no idea. Have you paid attention to anything else early in the with the conference teams that are like UAB and Florida? I know Florida Atlantic battled Central Florida, UCF, yesterday, ended up losing that game, but to me, it looks like they'll be a shell of what they were. Not the same with UAB. UAB should be solid, but any thoughts on the early going with teams from the American Conference?
Yeah, UAB, Yaxel Lendenborg's looked fantastic, obviously, as you guys have seen. I think he scored 20-plus points in all 3 games and has done more than just be that kind of traditional big, right? Like, he's faced up and taken the ball to the hole.
Oh, yes.
Multiple times.
He's an NBA prototype big.
He looks good, man. But the team, like, they lost to Vermont in their opener at home, right? And then you struggle a little bit against Southern Miss. You beat them by 14, and then they beat Southeastern Louisiana by 10. I think that was Sunday night. So they haven't really looked, kind of all that convincing as a unit, in my opinion. But Yaxel has looked every bit as good as advertised in this final season.
What you think of your alma mater?
Yeah. Man, I thought it looked bad at first against Kansas. It looked really, really bad for about 22, 24 minutes there. But to claw back in that environment from 20 down and to take the lead, they didn't only claw back. They clawed back enough to get ahead. Is certainly encouraging, I think, even with the loss.
It's way too early. Last night we had Michigan State, Kansas, and they were both bricklayers in that game except for Hunter Dickinson. Duke lost the lead, 9 points at the half, and blew one. Kentucky ended up winning that game. We've seen Baylor get dismantled by Gonzaga, bounce back and beat Arkansas. Any thoughts? Because 5 different teams, if I'm not mistaken, in the poll that came out on Monday, and you're a voter, right?
I am.
5 different teams got first place votes. Do you think that it's wide open this year, or do you think there's a team or two? Obviously, Connecticut has won the last 2, and they're not picked by many to win a third because it's so hard to do, but I would never count them out. Anybody that stands out for you?
Yeah, I think it's fairly wide open, but I think you've still got that top tier of 5 teams, right? 5-6 teams, and that would be like what you got. Your Kansas, Auburn's emerged as a player in that race. Houston's obviously going to be in that mix. Gonzaga, we talked about Gonzaga blew the brakes off Baylor. So really those three. Duke, you want to throw Duke in there?
Even though they lost.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, 4 or 5, whatever. But you've got that. It's wide open, but it's wide open with a limited group.
So you think it's top heavy?
I think it's top.
Who did you vote won?
I had Kansas at
Kansas won.
Okay. They've got the most loaded roster in the sport, and they haven't lost yet.
Man, Dickinson is awesome.
Sensational. He's sensational.
He's hard to guard in college basketball at his size and his skill level.
All right, Parth, glad you had a good time in Vegas. Yeah. Glad you made it out safe.
I appreciate
what
it.
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right?
No doubt.
For the most part.
For the most part.
All right, we'll see you on Friday night over at FedEx Forum.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
He is Parth Upadhyay from the Daily Memphian. He joins us every Wednesday to talk Memphis Tigers basketball. You can follow him on Twitter at PUPADH. YAYA_. Great follow, Parth Upadhyay. I want to tell you folks about Shoot 360 Memphis. Parth's a basketball player. You need to go over to Shoot 360 Memphis. This is a cool place. I mean, a really cool place to become a better shooter, a better all-around basketball player. It's a revolutionary basketball training facility. I don't use that word loosely. They combine cutting-edge technology, gamification, and instant objective feedback with hands-on one-on-one expert coaching. They now have a new 50,000-square-foot facility. That's in Cordova with 2 NBA regulation-sized courts, 3 high school-sized courts, 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. This is for the individual, also for teams. You want a facility to go practice and work out and even play some pickup? You can do that at Shoot 360 Memphis. Again, great people to work with. And now monthly memberships. You can't beat that. Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. You paid for 1 month. If you like it, well, then you keep going. And you don't have to get bogged down by a long-term contract. Sign up for another month, and then another month, and then another month. I'm sure that's going to happen if you are the lover of basketball that I think you are. In Cordova, that number to call is 901-779-3176. The Collierville location, 901-316-5500. You can become a member at both locations. Also, if you want to sign up, just go right to their online sign-up on the website at Shoot 360 Memphis. But if you want a tour, call those 2 numbers or any of those numbers I gave you, and they will set up a tour for you to check out their facilities. The future of basketball training is here at Shoot 360 Memphis. We're back to put a wrap on this Hump Day edition of Sports 56 Mornings in a moment. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory they've got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure. Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
The NBA Cup is here. Boost your winnings every Tuesday and Friday with DraftKings NBA Cup Double Up promotion. Opt in today, and you'll get 2 profit boosts to use on Tuesday and Fridays. Download their app, use the code HERD, H-E-R-D, and opt in to NBA Cup Double Up promotion to score your Profit Boost pack. That's code HERD only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Boosts expire at the end of the final game each day. Maximum bet limits and wagering restrictions apply. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/promos.
What a great time of year. Football, basketball, baseball, golf, and home sales. Home sales? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensworth Realtors. And why did I throw in home sales at this time of year? Because I have sold homes on the day before Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day. Whether it's someone transferring in through a relocation network or someone just starting their home search, homes sell all year long, just like my golf game being bad, all year long. I may be called Mr. Three-Putt, but at least I'm consistent. If you or someone you know is thinking of selling, make sure and talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Find out how my highly successful strategic marketing program can get the winning score you need. Call me and find out why people often say when you want the job done, oh, Shell done. 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Go for that goal and call me. Shell Dunn at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. And once again, Mark Gaston and Eli Sabor.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:51 the time. Nice to hear that Parth had a good time in his first trip out to Las Vegas and says he wants to go back. So they got another one, Eli. They want another one over out in Vegas.
Well, he's not a gambler, so
he's not giving their money. He's not giving his money in that regard, but hotel, food, entertainment, whatever the case may be, certainly they got him. I heard that. I read this morning that the quarter, they do it by quarterly, that the revenue for the Sphere was down this past quarter. And I'm thinking to myself, everybody I know that goes out to Vegas, they want to go to the Sphere and usually do. It's very expensive though. So
well, how many shows? I mean, how many shows did they have?
I don't know. It seems like they have something every day. It may not always be a big show, but the Eagles have played there. U2 has played there. Taylor Swift has played there. They got a lot of big shows, some bigger than others, but I don't know. It says down a little bit, but that ticket's expensive. We mentioned earlier, a friend of the show, Brent Rooker, was a winner of the Silver Slugger Award. Others that you would imagine would win the Silver Slugger Award did, like Aaron Judge, like Juan Soto, like Shohei Ohtani, and another big boppers. We got the rest of the awards will be coming out periodically over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens as far as that is concerned. And then, of course, you got the Juan Soto sweepstakes going on, as reported by Jeff Passan, with Toronto, Boston, the 2 New York teams, among the 4 we know of that will be whining and dining Mr. Soto. I mean, what do? Bring Juan Soto in. Where do you take him? Trying to win your services over. What are we going to do?
You take him to a table and you show him how much money you're going to pay. That's all you do.
Is that all it takes?
He's going to go where the most money is.
I'm sure, but you want to get wined and dined. I would imagine that's the same deal when you're being recruited to college football program.
If they offer him $700 million, he doesn't care if they offered him a bologna sandwich or fed him a bologna sandwich or a steak. $700 million, $700 million.
You can buy a lot of bologna sandwiches or a lot of steaks. A detailed assessment of Hurricane Milton's Hurricane Milton, is it Milton or Melton? I forget which hurricane it was. But the damage to Tropicana Field, the assessment concluded that the stadium is structurally sound and can be repaired for about $56 million for the start of the 2026 season. So that's good and bad at the same time. It will not be able to be repaired for the 2025 season. So they have to figure out soon what they're going to do.
I'm obviously not an engineer or anything. I don't even understand how it would take that long to fix that.
It just seems like it's
a garbage bag.
Curtains.
It's a garbage bag. I literally don't. I don't, for the life of me, understand how that could take from now. I mean, a year and a half to fix that roof. If it'd be different if it wasn't structurally sound, like if there was structural damage and you had to, but like the fact that they say it's structurally sound and it's going to take that long to fix it makes no sense whatsoever to me.
Because companies don't move fast. They have to put everything in place. They got to get their I's dotted, their T's crossed. So they are never going to rush a project. They're never going to say, oh, we can get this done and then not have it done. And then you're paying penalties and things of that nature. So they're going to always look, I think, at the longer end of their estimation.
I would have thought, to me, honestly, I would think you'd be able to have it ready for next season. Because again, you're in Florida too. It's not like it'd be different if it was in Minnesota. Like, okay, through the winter, you're not going to be able to do stuff, whatever. But it amazes me that they would not have that ready for next season.
Well, I'm with you. But what the hell do I know? I'm thinking like if they had started construction over at the Liberty Hole on that and started it once they cleared that area, which was, 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever the case was, then maybe they can have it done by the 25 season. But that's not happening. And they're still trying to complete the matching $50 million. So it'll be done, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the start of the 26 season. So again, you're always going to estimate or guesstimate the longer end of how long something will take. Because you don't want to get in trouble and have to pay fines as a company.
I'm not going to pay fines.
Well, no, not fines, penalties. There'll be penalties within the contract that says if you go beyond the.
And again, the Liberty Bowl, that's much more than a garbage bag.
I understand. I'm just talking about an example.
The $50 million, like honestly,
it must be more than a garbage
$50
bag.
million job seems to be like something you'd be able to do in easily 6 months.
Well, I have no idea. I'm not a architect.
I'm not asking for your answer.
Contractor.
It just amazes me. I'm not asking you to explain it.
It's not a garbage bag, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, you would think. I'm not looking at the price and thinking you get the job quicker because it's less money. I'm just thinking that it must be a harder job than what we think. But again, I think they're looking at, well, we got to get this in place, and we got to get the crews, and then we got to do this. And, I guess you could look at different companies and get different estimates, but I don't know. That's what it is. I'm worried about what's happening this year. Where the heck are they going to play? Not this year, but in 2025. Where are they playing in 2025? That's the bigger question. You can worry about 2026. You'll get that figured out, and you'll get the work sooner than later. But where are they playing in 2025?
Maybe Nashville.
Maybe Nashville. Could you imagine if it is Nashville? Anyway, that'll do it for us. We want to thank all our great guests today: Lawrence Dockery on 901 FC, Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports on Tennessee and Georgia, Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, to Michael Cole and the Grizzlies, Parthu Pajai on the Memphis Tigers basketball program. Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next. We're back tomorrow bright and early, starting at 7 a.m. Among our guests, Tigers head football coach Ryan Silverfield. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings. For Eli Savoy and Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great day, everybody.